A young man named Goreng wakes up on a bed in a concrete cell and sees an old man, Trimagasi, sitting opposite him and staring intently. The old man says that they are on level 48, the month has just begun, and the main question is what they will eat. They will only get pitiful leftovers after those above them have finished. Goreng approaches the edge of a rectangular hole located in the center of the cell and sees that below them there are many more levels, each with 2 people living on them. Looking up, he realizes there are also countless floors above with other prisoners. Trimagasi explains that they are in the pit, a multi-story prison without windows, pierced by a rectangular shaft. Sometimes food comes easily, sometimes it's nearly impossible to get, and it all depends on the level you land on. Trimagasi believes that they are lucky to be on level 48. Goreng tries to communicate with the inhabitants of the lower levels, but the old man advises against it, as well as talking to those above. Trimagasi has been in the pit for several months and knows that this is the best way to survive. When asked how long they will stay on this level, the old man replies that it's for a month. Suddenly, the red light above the level number goes out, a green one lights up, and after a few seconds, a rectangular platform descends with the remains of food from the upper floors. Trimagasi greedily pounces on the food, while Goreng looks on in disgust. Goreng calculates, if there are 47 levels above them, then these dishes have already been eaten by 94 people. He refuses to eat. Meanwhile, Trimagasi becomes more talkative and says that by the end of the month, there will be fewer people left in the pit. He didn't understand why at first either, until he ended up on the elite 8th level. Goreng takes an apple from the table, and Trimagasi spits on it. The old man explains that the residents of the upper levels have probably already done the same. Suddenly, the temperature in the cell rises. Trimagasi says that if Goreng doesn't throw the apple away, they will burn to death, because they can only eat while the platform is present. Otherwise, the temperature will either rise to a deadly level or drop to the same extreme. Goreng recalls signing an agreement for an experiment, allowing him to bring one item with him. He chose a book. He explains to Trimagasi that he came here voluntarily to quit smoking and get a certificate in exchange for 6 months in the pit. However, the certificates do not matter to the plot. At night, Goreng almost dies as the platform returns upward at high speed while they sleep. On the second day, he again refuses to eat, but continues to talk with Trimagasi, who explains why he ended up in the pit. The old man was sent here due to an incident. He became enraged by a TV commercial and threw his television out of the window, accidentally killing a migrant. He was given a choice, either a psychiatric hospital or this prison. Through their conversation, Goreng learns that the pit has far more than 132 levels, as Trimagasi once lived on such a level and never saw the bottom. Food doesn't reach those levels, yet people still somehow survive more than a month because there are 2 people on each level. Goreng tries to convince the neighboring inmates to ration the food sensibly, but those below are offended that they weren't left any wine. Surprised, Goreng is told by Trimagasi that those below should know their place. When Goreng asks what item Trimagasi brought with him, the old man shows him a knife. A man flies past them, having gone mad from the monotonous life on the upper level. Trimagasi notes that the middle levels are optimal for not starving to death and not going insane like that unfortunate soul. He briefly recounts the levels he has lived on. Goreng suggests that the old man killed and ate his cellmate on the hungriest level, 132. A woman of Asian descent named Miharu descends on the platform. Trimagasi explains that she is searching for her child. Before each descent, she kills her cellmate to increase the chances that her next neighbor will be her son. When Miharu goes down to the lower levels, 2 men try to make her their slave, but she kills them and returns to the platform. Meanwhile, Trimagasi shares how he survived on the lower level. He didn't kill his partner, he simply lived out his term. A month later, Goreng finds himself on level 171, bound and securely fixed to the bed. The mad Trimagasi explains that this is his safety measure and a way to survive. People from the neighboring levels, realizing how low they are, scream in horror, and several of them jump into the hole. The platform descends without food, and the dishes are completely empty. Trimagasi tells Goreng that he will start cutting pieces off him in a week. In the second week, when Trimagasi has already begun to cut a piece from his thigh, Miharu suddenly appears on the platform and wounds the old man. Taking the knife from the woman, Goring finishes off Trimagasi, and they eat. However, Miharu soon descends lower in search of her child. Weak and weakened, Goring lives next to the body of his former cellmate, feeding on maggots and conversing with the ghost of the deceased. After some time, Goring wakes up on level 33 in the company of a woman named Imogiri and her dog. He notes that bringing a dog is a bad idea, as everyone sees it only as food. Imogiri counters that Goring also acted imprudently by bringing a book. It turns out that Imogiri is the one who interviewed Goring before he was sent to the pit. She requested to come here herself. The staff refers to this place as a vertical self-service center. According to her, there are 200 levels in this hellish building, but if people on each floor took food in reasonable quantities, it would be enough for everyone. The pit was created as a social experiment in the hope that spontaneous feelings of solidarity would arise and everyone would survive. After that, the experiment would end, and the prisoners would be released. To survive on a single serving, Imogiri and her dog eat in turns. From her, Goring learns that there are no children here, as all participants in the experiment are over 16 years old. However, the protagonist remembers Miharu and her child. Imogiri places 2 small portions on plates and asks the residents of the lower levels not to overeat, but to eat only this and pass on the same portion further. But those who returned from level 88 refuse and send her away. Goring encounters Miharu again, who is badly injured. The cellmates leave her for the night so she can rest and heal. Miharu was taken for the pit 10 months ago. She is an orphan and an actress, and she does not have a child. Miharu voluntarily came to the pit. After some time, Goring finds himself on level 202. Imogiri, realizing that there are many more levels in the pit than she thought, ends her life. Her body becomes a gift for Goring's survival, but now 2 ghosts have settled in his mind. Months later, fate brings Goring to level 6, and his new companion is an African-American named Bharat, who jumps for joy, believing they are incredibly lucky. Goring suggests that they create weapons and descend on the platform to the very bottom, distributing equal portions of food to everyone. He estimates there are about 250 levels, and the fair distribution of food would supposedly break the system. The heroes make sticks from their beds and begin their risky journey. They do not give food to the first 50 levels at all, as they are full and will calmly survive a day of fasting. To let the administration on the upper 0 level understand that the experiment has succeeded, the cellmates decide to leave a message on the platform as it rises. The Italian dessert panna cotta. There turn out to be even more levels than Goring counted. However, after many cells filled only with corpses, they encounter 2 healthy men who attack Miharu. The heroes kill them, sustaining injuries, but they do not manage to save the Asian woman. On level 333, Goring and Bharat find her child, a girl about 5 years old, under the bed and feed her the only remaining dessert. The men realize that Miharu's daughter is the best message to the administrators of the pit. That same night, Bharat, heavily injured from the fights, dies. Goring descends to the very bottom with the girl. He leaves the child on the platform and goes into the darkness in the company of the ghost of the old Trimagasi.